One of the first things we started implementing was AI note taker. I mean, it's like hiring 50 people to answer your phones, but you're onboarding one person. Above and beyond using it as a fancy Google search, you start to realize that this is going to displace jobs. The bottom line is AI right now is going to be covering a lot of the early entry-level white-collar jobs that are basic secretarial work. You don't have to hire actors or actresses to do your advertisements. You don't have to hire design teams. You don't have to hire copy teams. You don't have to do any of it. It's all done for you in your own cadence, in your own tone, or not.
It's going to blow the lid off of everything. And I can now sense that, like the look on Elon's face when there's that interview where he like goes silent. And he's like, where is this going to go? That's where the AI misses, because it's just running a process and looking at data.
The data.
It doesn't have the field of view necessarily that humans have. I like the good side. Everyone's going to value real connection, real art, artistry, and all of those, music, art, you name it. Welcome back to another Cashflow Quest. We're talking AI disruption. That's artificial intelligence.
Let's go.
We've been internally now using AI for a lot of different things, just the normal stuff. But we have like a couple of data guys in the office, and we're using like 4 different versions.
Yeah.
So we got Claude, we got ChatGPT, we have Grok. Ben calls him Gronk.
Well, how about we just talk about our stack and kind of what we're looking at, right? So
what the hell do we use?
So I think when a lot of people, if you ask them to use AI, the answer is yes. But most people are really just using it as a enhanced Google search.
Well,
that's most people I talk with.
A lot of people don't understand that like Claude, Grok, ChatGPT, they all have different strengths and weaknesses, and they can be trained to kind of work together. Claude, right, is the first anthropic. And so it like can think more like humans. And so it's interesting, but like, that's like a thing where I'm like, oh yeah, which one do you use? And they're like, I don't know, just AI. Like they don't realize
most of them are using ChatGPT, which is, I think what your point is, there's like a database set of rules for it, how it functions. And each one of them has a different
and database. I think it's not until you get into the weeds, like we've done with AI and how, because we're learning how we can best incorporate it into what we do day to day.
Right.
Well, I'll admit I'm a novice.
And so I just think it's interesting. A lot of people know and are aware of artificial intelligence AI, but like don't realize that there's levels of it and different ones and platforms and how you can incorporate them together. And I think that's kind of an interesting fact. And it's the beginning of
when
this
the versions
AI
are going to keep coming.
Right.
So basically there's this kind of new philosophy that's taking root, which is AI in positions is becoming, the term's agentic, right? And so like what we're starting to see, one of the first things we started implementing was AI note takers. And before I used to have my assistant come sit in my meetings and she would take notes.
Yeah.
And now she's not there, right? And so technically, historically, you would have had to hire a person. So that is, in a sense, an AI agent within the organization that's doing a job, right? Mm-hmm. And so right now, we're in the process of onboarding an AI phone answering service that directly connects with our rent management software through API. And basically, it fields all calls. And
it sounds like a human.
Sounds like a human. The model's been training for over a year on like 65,000 units. The group we're working with is called Domos. We're in early infancy stages. But basically what's happening is you're onboarding employees that have mass ability. I mean, it's like hiring 50 people to answer your phones, but you're onboarding one person. Mm-hmm. And this whole process is what we call, agentic. And
they're AI agents.
Exactly.
And now people are calling them like an agentic hire.
Yeah. So that is what's really interesting. And as we've gotten more in depth, for example, I started using Claude. It's tied in with my AI note taker, it's tied in with my Gmail. So all my meetings are recorded, and it's insane the amount of stuff it can do for me. Completely compile my to-do list, help me set my priorities. It knows how I communicate and talk. It has a whole model built out for me, a knowledge base, if you will. It can write in my own style. And it's really impressive. And so when you start working with it and really seeing what it's doing above and beyond using it as a fancy Google search, you start to realize that this is going to displace jobs for sure.
Tied really
It
quick.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just give an example. Give the entire example of that email you just sent out to, all the staff,
Okay.
and like how you use these different interfaces, how they fed up, and then how you executed, that whole, like, you had a meeting, right? You had Fireflies record it, and then it went into Claude, and then talk through how you were able to compile all that, and then just send out kind of a formal email of to-dos, next steps, and, responsibilities to the entire team to execute on a specific business plan. I think that would be helpful for people that are like, okay, I hear all these, like, this jargon, but like, how are people actually doing it? And like giving it a real example. To me, I think that's helpful. And I think it'd be helpful for other people to hear it too.
100%. And there's multiple things that I'm seeing you do. I do want to point out it's not perfect and it has to be corrected.
Yeah.
But, we're basically within Rent Manager, there's different portions of the program that set monikers on what's going on with an asset. And so what we wanted to do is start getting better data, because what we're realizing is when we're putting together budgets and analyzing data, sometimes there's bad information on the status of the asset. And so you can go in on the asset and in the home status, you can basically make updates. And so historically, there's only been a couple people in the company making these updates. And so they don't happen regularly. So if we're in a conversation on what's going on, our unit type vacancy is very accurate. So we have really accurate numbers on occupancy. But if you want to know exactly what's happening at that house today, you're going to have to make a phone call. So we kind of sat through, me, Becky, and our corporate controller, Austin, and just started chatting through how would this perfectly work? And the whole time it's being recorded by AI, right? And got a lot of input from accounting, worked through a lot of processes, talked about how it would integrate with the dealership management and how they, process these things. And then after the meeting was done, I said, turn this into an email with a summary and instructions based off of every job role, and put it in email form. And it did that. Right now, I did have to make a couple tweaks, but basically I sent out a email that would have taken me a couple hours to write and be thoughtful, because it included what each job was supposed to do. But basically every single person in the company was then given instructions on how they should be updating the asset statuses that they're touching. For example, if you're a salesperson, that's really simple. If, maybe it gets tied up, maybe it's under contract, right? If you're on our quality control side and you're working to flip a house, maybe it's under repairs and maintenance. Maybe it's in bidding stages. These notes would be updated. If you're Becky and you're working on the dealership management side, maybe the home's in abandonment and you're going through an MVD1 inspection to make sure that the title's put into the company's name. Things like this. Now, everyone is updating it weekly, right? Where before, it wasn't really happening.
So you had a meeting and basically had a detailed meeting that created standard operating procedures for the future, all in one.
Claude wrote it for me in email form to send out.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
The time savings and lots of different future dynamics of that too.
Incredible.
It's pretty amazing.
The other thing, it works really good with screenshots. It doesn't have a direct API connection with our Rent Manager software yet. And so what I've done is I go in, we have service issues. Our whole company works off of service issues within Rent Manager. And I took screenshots. And then I had it scan all of my flagged emails. Okay. I uploaded the screenshots. I put in my notes. It had all of my transcriptions from my AI note taker. Okay. And what I did is I said, compare all of the tasks that have been delegated to me that are not currently in my list of things to do within Rent Manager, and format it into a document so my assistant can put them all into Rent Manager so that I have one consolidated task list. Now, you might be asking, well, couldn't the AI just manage your task list? The answer is yes, but since it's so new to me, I don't want to trust my full to-do list in one place. I want to make sure I have it. And also, if we're working with teams who aren't using AI in the field, I want them to see the history of what's going on with that specific task.
Within
something like that, usually I set Mondays aside for random meetings and admin. I would say that I spend about 4 to 5 hours every week making sure everything is, perfectly coded and I know what I need to be working on. I'm prioritizing and communicating. Usually 4 hours. It was done in a matter of like 15 to 20 minutes. So that type of stuff is really interesting. And I think
efficient.
What we're talking about is what is the disruption going to look like? Yeah. And the bottom line is AI right now is going to be covering a lot of the early entry level white collar jobs that are basic secretarial work, answering phones, all these kinds of things, which we did some research on. It looks like it's around 20 million jobs.
Well, hold on. So this segment is AI disruption.
Disruption.
And who is going to get fired?
Because it's going to happen. A lot of jobs are going to be lost to AI.
Up, but it's the truth here. And it's like.
And it's the beginning of a new wave because yes, it's going to take other jobs, but I kind of want to have a discussion on like, okay, when this happens, what does that look like? Because there's going to be new things and new challenges with AI that pop up that then humans are going to have to help fill gaps. So then what is that? We don't know fully yet what that looks like because this is the beginning of the AI disruption.
So I actually asked Grok, what does job displacement look like? It gave a whole breakdown, but then it also referenced some studies from some large groups. And I thought it was really interesting. Goldman Sachs did a study in 2023 estimating 300 full-time jobs globally, with about 25% of tasks in the US and Europe being automatable, but roughly 7% of the workforce would face outright replacement. So 7%. Okay. McKinsey did a 2017 study where they said between 3 and 14% of the global workforce, which is 75 to 375 million people, or suggestion of 8%. The World Economic Forum this year noted 41% of employers plan to reduce workforce due to AI, but only 14 million jobs, 2% globally, are expected to be losses. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then MIT's Darren, I'm going to butcher it, Acemoglu, in 2024, they did a conservative view suggesting 5% of jobs over the next decade, that most roles will be augmented versus being eliminated. Mm-hmm. So there's some stats.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're all pretty like vanilla on that.
That's the discussion.
Like it's like when everyone comes out once a year and tells you what the S&P 500 is going to close out the following year. Yeah, they're always super vague. The ranges, right? Because no one really knows. And I think like McKinsey going back to 2017, it's like I don't even think they would have fathomed how fast it's growing.
No, right? I mean,
like
that's
now
insane.
With a couple years of hindsight on how much it's integrated into everyone's life.
Yeah,
like. I mean, if you're a kid, you're writing all of your papers. It's like, it's a problem, I'm sure, on that front, but like it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But McKinsey said 3 to 14%. It's actually the most outright. Everyone else is lower than it.
Correct. No, that's a big range.
Yeah.
14% is big.
Yeah, and I think so. We're all in agreement that it's going to disrupt a lot of jobs. And I do agree with that. It's going to make people more efficient, like us, like a really lean team that didn't have all these constraints. Like if we were around for a really long time, we were older, then it's really difficult to pivot into this. But which is really.
And I think that's a dynamic in this because like the older generations or even, 10 to 15 years more, they're like, I don't really want to do that. I like the way I'm doing things and I'd rather have the person. And so there's going to be a learning curve. So we do have sort of a younger crew and we're like excited about it and incorporating it in, but like,
I think though that it's hitting a broader stroke of demographics than anyone ever dreamed of.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I agree.
And that's where I think the argument is on Main Street. What happens? Because I think that these big institutions, whoever they are in their ivory towers, they don't know how like the guys literally in the little store in the coffee shop, how they've just eliminated an admin,
and how Tide's turned a 4-hour task into 20 minutes. Like that's insane.
Well, we're not going to need to hire him another assistant anytime soon,
And so
I think your
I'm
point.
Kidding,
Ben,
but the point is there,
We already have 2. I think we'll be fine.
But I think too, I was listening to this other podcast. It was like the All In podcast. They had the ex-owner of Google on there. And what he was talking about as well as that management can be replaced through AI. And so he's like retired, but he's come back to Google to kind of really just get into the AI stuff, be more of an employee just because he's an avid learner. And what he did is that he downloaded the entire Slack channel he got added to. And he said, who here is someone that probably is up for promotion or like is overlooked, and it spit out this girl's name. And he took that name to her boss and said, hey, I want to talk about this person, do you think she's up for a promotion? She's like, oh my God, that's funny you bring that up. Yeah, she's been crushing it, doing all this. And so use that as an example that like management, I mean, even just think about when you like ChatGPT, when you do employee assessments, right? Like that was such a pain in the ass to do that. Like when you're at BlackRock, you're doing your yearly kind of goals and all that stuff. And then ChatGPT came around. It's like, all right, here's the things I accomplished. And then it writes it all out really nice, right?
Yeah.
But then I think just going even further to like the example that Tide said, it's not going to replace management because managers have to inspire people, right? Like a computer or whatever, that you got to inspire people, you got to lead. But I do think from just purely a managerial standpoint, like, hey, you're the person that we pay all the buku bucks to run the team and kind of get,
Well, the managers now have leverage. Is the bottom line. Like you have other tools at your disposal
to give you data
for things that maybe would have taken some people inputs.
Yeah.
You have some new levers.
But do you think you need as many managers? You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying.
The argument is no. I think we're starting to see it that we could potentially scale growth with less volume than would have been pre ChatGPT.
I think that things like, for example, if you're making cold calls and that's your job, start looking for another job right now. Well,
so on the same function though, if you're challenged in business right now and you're looking for fat to cut, you're going to be pushing into this.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Of course.
And that's where my like, I'm sensing kind of a change in the consumer confidence, the car dealers, the people selling retail. Like you're going to be leaning into where you can thin down your expense load. And I feel like people that would have had those entry level jobs where you really build your career off of like learning how to grow, the jump now to the exec level or that like general manager level is going to have a lot of AI in it.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
And so that's where like Tide and I cut you off because I wanted to use this as a main talking point, but we were like talking the other night, over a beer, wrapping up, and it's like, man, there's something stirring in the AI realm. And then you listen to all these things. I'm like, how many people? So I'll let you run with it, but like, how many people are like general admin or baseline admins within the workforce in the US?
Yeah, I think the question I asked the prompt was, how many Americans are working simple administrative jobs or predominantly answer phones? And the answer was 18.4 million people. And I think that that's something that like literally is completely eliminatable today. The real thing that's happening is there's a delay on understanding. Because like I was just at a men's retreat and chatting with a guy. He's in digital marketing. He uses AI, but like even he was behind 5 minutes ago's information, which is like, for example, there's this new drop from China. It's called Minimax, and it does it's insane how good it is. It will do full digital renderings. It looks real. You almost cannot tell the difference. Mm-hmm. If anyone wants to know what I'm referencing, Joe Rogan was just interviewing Charlie Crockett, and they were talking about it. If you guys don't like Charlie Crockett, he's freaking phenomenal. But anyways, it's like, if you had, this is where my mind went, is like, I could have all my transcripts be completely uploaded. It would know exactly how I think about something. Mm-hmm. So let's say I'm a digital marketer. It now knows everything, my opinions on how I would market, how I would speak, how I would sell something. And then I pair that with this digital rendering software that looks new. You don't have to hire actors or actresses to do your advertisements. You don't have to hire design teams. You don't have to hire copy teams. You don't have to do any of it. It's all done for you in your own cadence, in your own tone, or not. You can manipulate it. There's so much it's going to completely eliminate. It's really mind-boggling.
And Ben, you're experiencing that too with.
Yeah, well, we're using it. And there are some people that I've heard, really smart people in AI that agree with this. I don't think it can replace sales fully, just because sales is being so relationship focused.
No, I think it's a tool.
100%
it's a tool for a sales team to answer questions that are, they tell the story, or we're learning that like people ask the bot on the computer screen a question that they're maybe insecure about asking or embarrassed to ask a human, but they'll ask a person. And so then we're able to capture that information and learn from it and add them to our FAQs or whatever. But then
it'll be a great admin assistant.
It's an admin
for the
assistant
roll up
tool.
Or like the initial outreach.
Yes.
You call an agent. have a dynamic and schedule a call.
Yeah.
But, like,
and then have the
grooming.
personal touch and make the final sale.
And maybe this is my old school kind of like the old school piece of me that's kind of attaching on. But like, I just think about it from my mindset. If I got a call, right, and just say, you know, I'm a high net worth person, right? And I invest with comfort because I like them and, you know, I believe in them and I trust them, most importantly. Mm-hmm. And I got a call and it's my voice, it's me. And I figure out it's me calling them and I'm an AI bot. I would have I would just hang up on that call. Like I wouldn't like it for like personal security.
I think we're early for this.
Yeah.
This particular, that exec admin. No, I agree. You're not calling like some of these guys that are big time with it.
Well, hold on. The comment was, I don't think it's going to get rid of sales. For our listeners who haven't seen it, some of these voice models are insane. We did a test run. It called 12 property managers at the same time.
Well, and I'm going to add in too that you can intercept if you want to actually physically talk to whoever answered, right? Because they can monitor.
Excuse me. Sorry, that was just my AI bot.
I've been listening the whole time in the background. Well, this call is recorded. Would you like to buy a mattress?
Well, hold on. It called 12 property managers. None of them questioned it. They had full-on conversations for minutes.
I don't doubt it.
They didn't know.
So that's where it's dependent. It depends big time. Now, but the lower level callers, the Indian, the Philippines, the call centers.
Yes.
Those are gone.
Supposedly all the interface on like Google or one of the big ones. When you call because you need product support, I mean, can you imagine all the people that call that? All those people done.
Yeah.
AI can quickly
and you can upload the manual and then the bot knows how to answer the question. Like it's insane.
Really funny story, and I'll forget if I don't say it right now because we're gonna move on. So we put on or put together a AI bot for me on my new website. We're just having fun kind of booting this up. Sounds like me from the podcast. We have plenty of voice recordings. And I played it for my wife and she cried. Like it shook her that much.
Wow.
Like, because she couldn't believe how
it disrupted her to her core that was real.
Yeah.
You know, you could interface with something, it's not real. And it sounds just like me.
And that's where, in that piece right there, like you just said, that's where, like when you grow a business, and you guys all know this as well, it's like trust is everything. Like, I mean, that's it.
No.
And if you did something and it eroded like a piece of trust, like someone felt vulnerable
it could hurt.
I mean, that's where I kind of
I actually think
dangers.
Because of that, I'm evolving an opinion on the real life voice that we did we're having fun with this, just internal, like booting this up, but really just playing with it on how it would function. I think you should have an agent that's not you.
Yeah.
Because now you're not taking that identity away from you.
Yeah.
You want your identity to be your identity.
And I think there's risk there that
like I don't need to talk to Ben. I just need to know like when the distributions are going to start, or like what's your track record or something like that.
With a female or male voice and give it a name. Have fun with that. And then they can get the information or ask the questions that they want and get the information without feeling embarrassed or stupid or whatever.
Here's what I think is going to happen. You're going to see, and then we can wrap it up. Yeah. But I do think that you're going to see something where you've got a hotshot like Ben, right? And part of your contract is, hey, we're getting access to all of the records that are consumed with you here. We're utilizing AI, and you're going to have a non-compete, right? Ben's said before, as we keep growing, I might need additional people to help me sell. Well, first off, what if now you have his voice? He just said, well, you need relationships to close these deals. He has built a personal relationship. And now we could completely clone him and have AI reach out sounding just like him. The investor doesn't know the difference.
Well, okay, but see, I think that's the issue.
The point. Yeah.
And I agree momentarily, because this is moving so fast, that you don't want it to be a clone of Ben, because now they're gonna feel betrayed.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying from that standpoint, but I think there's going to be a point in time where like people might not know.
Okay, now I'll run a different scenario.
Okay.
What you said specifically in my head, I'm thinking of an inbound call, and Ben's bot is going to interface. they may or may not know, right? Okay, but that is the particular scenario that I think is as you have to be careful with. Mm-hmm. I think that the scenario that you could run with is when you go out and you do newsletters and updates and things of that nature, it could be written and then displayed through Ben's bot en masse. But it's not, you're not tricking anybody. Like even if they might think it's him, there's no like trust breakdown because it's just a newsletter or it's a new update. It's a, hey guys, this is Ben Schuster. I'm calling and I'm going to give you an update, and it's a voice recording left as a blast message, something of that nature. You're not breaking any confidence or relationship lines.
Okay. Let me give you another pathway on this whole thing. I think we're underestimating how quickly the general public is going to adopt this technology and interact with it. For example, when we were onboarding Domos, what we were hearing is that people call and they get used to talking to this AI bot. They don't know it's not a human. They build a relationship.
Yeah, I was going to say they probably don't know that it isn't a human on the other side because it sounds so real.
They call and request this person. It's not real, right? So like we're talking about, well, you need trust. You need this. You don't. I don't think in very long.
Oh, okay. So I agree.
You think it's gonna?
I think it's
the
so
switcheroo is what I'm getting hung up on. Is the switcheroo now? Okay, but I think that you don't need Ben to clone. You don't need to clone him. You potentially be better off to have a blonde girl with an Australian accent. I just love Australian accents
and blonde girls apparently today.
Well, my point is they sell better.
Yeah.
Like, okay. I'll give you an example. You go on any car website, any dealer. It's always some like chick that's the face and it's a bot, for sure. It's not real, right? It's like, there's no real girl with that picture there. It's just like, it's approachable is the nature 100%. Of the sales piece I'm trying to drive home. Now,
it's really interesting because I think in a financial realm, I'm just going to pivot here, that a male character should be, I just think that it's always like the men want to talk to the men in like the like a financial decision. Now,
but this salesperson, I'm still rolling it up to Ben being the closer in theory.
And they give the information. And
what you're saying is they could close.
I think, and then when we're talking about generalized sales, fine. Maybe when we're talking about investors who are spending a lot of money, maybe that won't work where you have to have that in-person interaction. Maybe it's going to lunch and like to really seal the deal. But on things like you name it, there's a lot of sales where you're just directly interacting with the person on the phone. Like any type of e-commerce business where you want to call and ask questions about product, definitely is going to be an AI bot. Mm-hmm. And I think that they're going to close all the time. The other thing is when we're talking cold calls, think about how many calls a VA can make a day.
Yeah.
100 exit.
Yeah.
And now it's
agree.
A perfect
I agree on the outreach.
British accent.
I mean, honestly, you could try a bunch of them too. You could see I don't care. It's whatever works, right?
Well,
if you're right, if it's
vary.
A masculine figure or a girl, it doesn't matter. Like it's more about, you could do it all. Dude,
exactly.
You could have both.
That's what I think.
You know what it's going to get to? It's going to get smart enough to where it's going to go, I'm calling a 45-year-old single male in this area, and that statistically responds to this best. And that is the voice I'm going to use
the
to
new
call
Google
with.
targeted ads.
Yes.
For sure.
It's going to get really crazy.
100%.
So writing off, I don't think sales. I think a lot of things.
Coming. I think so.
No, well, and I think that the best thing is you could build a baseline. I mean, you could have a ton of them. You could have these different formatted bots, AI agents to do a lot of different things.
The free calling version that we used to test had over 300 voices. And each voice was manipulatable. You can make the speed up, take it down. You can change it. So, and that was on the free version.
So, all right. So I think that we've covered a lot of it. I think that I like to offer solutions in the realm of like where this is going. It's going to blow the lid off of everything. And I can now sense that, like the look on Elon's face when there's that interview where he like goes silent. And he's like, where is this going to go? And he has like a 12-second pause on live TV.
Oh, man.
And he's just like, I don't know, but it's hard for me to think it through because a lot of it ends up like disheartening or like it demotivates him to proceed with his future based on the fact that when he thinks it through, it's going to be that challenging for people.
Yeah.
So I think, then there's like a flood of people that I feel like this younger generation, most of them would rather work on computers and in tech and that kind of thing. I think that's the wrong way. I think you should go, if you're starting out and you're younger or you have kids that are entering the workforce, you should be rooting them back into the realm of hard asset technologies, like how to renovate, do projects, construction, service-based HVAC, plumbing.
You're always going to have a need.
The things that like, come on, eventually you could make the argument that robots use this and do those things. That is very dynamic and in the future, because it's going to be so hard to get the right robot through to the right place to disconnect things. Like that's going to be so much farther down the road
For sure.
versus the admin software calling agents on these phone numbers.
Well, which has been a lot of like what, code and all of that thing, that type of job has been so desirable for the younger generation. And it's gone. And so then it's like those people need to really find jobs in
social media management, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like that, you don't want to really be running down that road long term now, because the AI is just going to keep getting sharper and sharper. And on the editing side and all that stuff, that's where the disruption will end up. Right now, it's just the baseline admin. And then, you don't have to be there's a guy that actually developed like the neural connection base that now the AIs are all using, and the concept of it. He just spun off and sold his portion of like a little startup, and he got hired by Google and worked there for 10 years after that as part of the deal. And he was on one of those podcasts, and he's like the cat's out of the bag now, and we've figured it out. And so the guy kept asking him several intervals, like, so like, what are you going to tell your kids? And he goes, honestly, like plumbing looks pretty good now. And the guy laughed. The interviewer laughed, and he's like, no, like you think I'm joking. Like after the interview was over, they like played like the B-roll, and he's like, no, everyone thinks I'm joking. Like I'm not joking. Like that is what I would tell my kids to do. Like that's what I'm telling them is like, they have money, in the family now, but like, that's what I would tell them, because you need to go put your hands on something and learn the realm of what's physical versus going further and further into software.
I think with the ability to leverage, that ability is going to become much more attainable. Like right now, you have to have a big company to have a staff of 50 to do stuff, right? Well, now anyone will have that. Right. So I think a couple things. I think you hit on one primary.
Yeah.
But I do think what's going to be interesting is we're going to see a lot of sole proprietors and people that are starting one-off companies that are going to be able to really scale.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we're going to see a lot of that. The other thing that I think will be interesting, and this is more of a philosophical thing that I think is going to happen, is I think we're going to start to see a lot of like, people are going to appreciate interaction more. So I think we're going to see a rise in like food service, right? Like where you're going to see like cooler restaurants, I think are going to do better because you're going to want an experience, right? Like everything is fake online and on your phone.
Yeah.
So why not go and enjoy these real things? Or if like, for example, let's say you're a craft artist and you make things, right? People are going to want to buy that versus buying some, perfectly created digital art or whatever. I think that, those types of businesses are going to do good because people are going to want to support that, right? Because they're going to have friends and family that have been displaced. And so, okay, well, I lost my job as a phone answering person, but I'm really passionate about finger painting and I'm going to go on the boardwalk and do that. I think we're going to see that kind of stuff where like maybe it does better because people relate and they want that, tangible consumer item. Obviously, plumbing, electrical, I think we're already seeing that happen where trade values are going through the roof. And so I think that, and then, just holding assets that produce revenue, and gold. And I think that's kind of where it's going to be. But if your goal was to be a copywriter, coder,
well, like the attorneys, all of those white collar jobs where you had a baseline where you could go easily be an admin for a handful of years and work your way up through. That's where now it's going to be really tricky.
It touches everything. Like we're in an airplane hangar right now. What do you think is going to happen with air traffic control?
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
Jobs like that. Like I think it's really
the interactive game.
Really interesting.
Where you had to have bodies. Maybe you have a couple of AI agent air traffic controllers and you roll it up to one guy, just kind of keeping his eye on everything, to where you still need a gut check, That's one thing I've heard that it's going to be very difficult is that gut check of like, something's wrong.
Yeah.
That's where the AI misses, because it's just running a process and looking at data.
The data.
It doesn't have the field of view necessarily that humans have.
Right.
It's interesting.
So it'll be fun
I'd
to watch.
say buckle up.
Yeah.
And I
there's
like
gonna be changes.
I like the good side, concerts, going and viewing
Musicians,
real music, because
live
music is
music.
going to be made with robots, and it's going to be, so everyone's going to value real connection, real artistry, and all those music, art, you name it. And it's just going to kind of spawn into like quality over quantity. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good outcome.
Yeah,
I think
for
so
sure.
too.
At the end of the day, the good will prevail. That's
I
my
agree.
belief
Yeah.
in life.
Me too.
Cool.
So, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Another episode of the Cashflow Quest. Until next time, guys. Cheers.
Thanks a lot. God bless.
Bye.
Have a good one.